Broadcasting from the Cottage Studio, welcome to the movie review, and as always, I'm your host, Ho Ho. How y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Today we are talking about who are you going to call? Ghostbusters! Yay! That is an awesome movie franchise, let me tell you. And by the way, before we get into it, spoiler alert, obviously, because we're going to be talking about all four of the movies. We're going to touch base on the TV series. We're going to be talking all this stuff. And I tell you what, I'm a fan of Ghostbusters. I really am. It's an awesome movie series. It really is. The only disappointment in the entire thing was the reboot that they did in 2016. But let's go ahead and start talking about the movies. Now, the first one was released back in 1984. It was actually written by Dan Aykroyd and, what's that guy's name? Harold Ramis. The guy who played Egon. They actually wrote the script on this. Both, these guys are, just amazing comedic geniuses. They really are. They are the ones who did the first one. And I tell you what, the first one was epic. Now here's the thing, okay? I would love to, at least in a matter of speaking, okay? Now, don't get me wrong on this. It's not like I totally want a reboot, because how they did the original reboot in 2016, I was not a huge fan. Okay. But they really did do a good job with the special effects, the whole 9 yards. I would kind of like to see a reimagine of the original, just to see what they would do with the special effects and whatnot. But we did at least get an idea of what they would be able to do in Ghostbusters Afterlife. They really did. But before we get into Ghostbusters Afterlife, 1984, all right, you had Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, who I don't think was really known for his, comedy at all. You had Annie Potts. You had Sigourney Weaver. Am I saying that right? Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. You had what was that other guy's name? Vigo the Carpathian, whatever. Rick Moranis in there. The guy who is known for, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. You had him in this. It really was a great, a great show, a great movie. Part one, part two, awesome movies. Just the hilarity, the comedy, funny stuff. Stuff that one-liners are made of. There are all kinds of one-liners in this one. Even in part two, all kinds of one-liners. Like, in what was it, part one or was it part two? It was part one. The whole dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Hilarious one-liners in that show, And shortly after that is when the cartoon came out, the real Ghostbusters, and that one was an awesome series. It really was. So much hilarity, funny stuff happening, and what crap. But back to the movie, the original one. All right, 1984. And Ghostbusters 2, which was released in 1989, both of those were written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Both of them. And when I started seeing the numbers on this, I was kind of impressed, actually. I really was. Kind of impressed. The reboot was done in 2016. Ghostbusters Afterlife was done 2021, November 2021. And they actually have a sequel that is supposed to be coming out late 2023. And I'm actually kind of excited about that one. And even Dan Aykroyd has talked about doing a prequel as well, where, they first get together. The characters of, let me scroll down here, of Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, Spangler, and I'm assuming Winston, all them characters getting together as teenagers. That's when it's supposed to kind of take place, like back in the 60s, I think is what they said, whenever they first got together, first met, is when that's supposed to be. And Dan Aykroyd has said that is going to be the finale episode. But that's what they said. That's what they said. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, what was budgeted and, how they actually did, I guess you can say. Now, the first one had a budget of $30 million. Remember, this is back in 1987, I think. 1987. I got to scroll back up to the top again. I'm thinking it was 1987. Oh, I'm sorry, 1984. It was when the first one. $30 million budget. And it made, got to scroll all the way back down here. It made worldwide, North America, other territories, a whole 9 yards. It made $296.5 million. So it made some money. Ghostbusters 2, 89, only $7 million more it was budgeted for. That's $37 million what it was budgeted for. And it made worldwide gross, box office gross, this is, 215.4, just under $215.4 million. Did pretty good. Let's see, Ghostbusters, the reboot, 2016. It had a budget of $144 million, and it made $229.15 million box office gross. And reboot. Okay, reboot. And Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, here's where I was kind of surprised about. I'm going to be honest with you. This one actually kind of surprised me. It had a $75 million budget. Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is part of the original series, not part of the reboot series, but part of the original series. $75 million budget. Like, just over half of the reboot. And that sucker brought in worldwide box office gross $204.3 million. For a total of all of them, $938.5 million. That's pretty stinking awesome. That's pretty stinking awesome. that is definitely awesome. And to no surprise, okay, no surprise whatsoever, is what the critics thought about the movie, at least with Rotten Tomatoes, okay? Had a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. The original Ghostbusters movie. Rotten Tomatoes, 97%. 55% for Ghostbusters 2. 73% for the reboot. And only a 63% for Ghostbusters Afterlife? Man, come on, people. Are you kidding me? Dude, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, the first one was epic, was awesome, was amazing. It was great. I loved it. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was hilarious. All kinds of good stuff. I loved it. The second one, now originally, I wasn't a fan the first time I watched it. I really wasn't. The happenings of the second one takes place like 5 years after the original. They've kind of lost their spotlight because of the amount of property damage that was done at the end of the first one. They were kind of persona non grata, okay? But how they ended up doing that one, I was like, I wasn't a fan of it at first. The big old river of slime, the artwork that was done of Vigo the Carpathian. I overall just wasn't a fan. I didn't dig it, but it was kind of one of the things. I mean, just like, Highlander Part 2, it kind of grew on me though. The second time I was like, I'm a little bit more into this. The third time was even more into this. By the fourth time I watched that movie, I was definitely hooked. And yes, I watched it multiple times. Absolutely watched it multiple times. I want to watch it again. I'm just saying. I would love to watch the entire series again, well, minus the reboot. But the second one, it was weird to me. It was weird. But especially definitely after that first time I watched it, it grew on me. It really grew on me. I liked it. Very much so. I liked it. So I can kind of understand why that one, only had let me get back to it, a 55%. I wasn't a fan of it in the beginning either. It grew on me, but in the beginning I wasn't a fan. Now the reboot, this is where I was a little disappointed. Okay. Now, granted, you really did have a good cast. You really did. Okay. You had, let me get into it. There we go. You had Melissa McCarthy in it, and she is a funny person. But, and Chris Hemsworth being in it, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, Kristen Wiig. Yes, but definitely Melissa McCarthy. Not that it was bad. I don't want to say that it was bad. But it is another movie that was victim of wokeism. They tried to do, bring back the Ghostbusters franchise for an all-female, for a female audience, thinking that that's what everybody wanted. Not that the movie itself was bad. I did like the movie. I thought they did a decent job. It was funny, but they tried to recreate for the sake of wokeism. And I think if they would have gone about it a different way, then at least my perspective, I think it had an opportunity to be a great movie. I really do. Now, I mean, granted, it got 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. It got a B+, and as far as the cinema score goes. Ghostbusters 2 got an A-. Ghostbusters Afterlife got an A-. Ghostbusters the reboot got a B+. 73% in Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people liked it, and I did too. It's just the aspect of, they tried to recreate the original in a matter of speaking, and I think if they would have done it, not necessarily try to recreate, but just come up with, even using the franchise, even using the Ghostbusters and the tech and what they were doing, if they just would have tried to be more original with it, I think they would have done a lot better. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you are listening on, either the YouTubes or over there on Spreaker. Otherwise, send me an email, hoho@thehohoshow.com, and let me know what you think about the reboot of Ghostbusters. I really am interested to know. I really am. And then they did Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I got to be honest. I was very hesitant to watch this one. I really was. And I think a lot of other people were hesitant too. It was the lowest grossing box office Ghostbusters movie of the entire franchise. And it only got a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. Which personally, I think that is hugely and grossly unfair. I really do. Because, guys, I'll tell you what, and I'm going to say this honestly, When I talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife, they did it right. They did it right. Dude, I don't say that very often when it comes to a movie franchise. Doing sequels, I don't say it often. Because far too often is what you see. And this is something that you see a lot, even in, with sequels and whatnot, that they're playing on the name. Okay. And that's what they are expecting to carry the movie is the name or an actor that they may put in the name. But in Afterlife, they did it right. They had a top-notch storyline. Now, granted, they could have done better. Obviously. Of course they could have done better. They could have done more with it. Obviously. Of course they could have done more with it. But they did it right. They did it right. I think that sucker only getting a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes is a shame. I think that movie is definitely better than the reboot. And that one got a 73%, 292 reviews. 301 review on Afterlife, 63%. What in the world, man? They did it right. It had the entire, it was only missing one cast member. Spoiler alert, by the way. Only one cast member from the original series was not in it, and that is it. That's Rick Moranis. Everybody else was present in the way of which you would think they would be present or should be present. Even down to Harold Ramis being in the movie as a ghost. I'm sorry, that was hilarious to me. That was amazing to me. What an awesome send-off for the role, for the character, for the actor. What a salute to the man's work. It was absolutely, dude, it was tear-jerking. I ain't going to lie. All right, whenever I watched the end, it was like, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Oh, yay. It was awesome. Dude, there's no other way to put it. I loved it. I thought it was great. So I'm actually curious as to what they do in the next one. It looks like they're doing another one. This is a sequel to Afterlife. Supposed to be getting released in 2023. I believe December was the, release date of it. I don't know if it's actually in production right now. Everything shows as TBA, to be announced. Okay. It does look as though you have, well, obviously the kids being in it. Paul Rudd is supposed to be in it. Carrie Coon is supposed to be in it. But as far as, the original cast, Bill Murray to be announced, don't know. Janine is a to be announced, we don't know. Sigourney Weaver to be announced, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. So, but I am curious to see what they actually do with this one. And I am actually curious as well to see if they do go about and do the prequel story. I don't know. I don't know. I would, in a matter of speaking for me, okay, what I would almost like to see in with the Ghostbusters franchise, all right, is to do like maybe as far as a prequel goes, all right, with some of the stuff on the original. Now this correlates with the first Ghostbusters movie and with Ghostbusters Afterlife. If they did something regarding the architect who built the tower that, Sigourney Weaver's character was in, where the whole thing happened at, that would be an awesome place to go. I mean, maybe not necessarily, when the main cast characters, get together as teenagers or what have you, I think it would be neat to base it off of something that they've already talked about in the movies, referenced in both the original Ghostbusters and in Ghostbusters Afterlife, actually talking about that guy that was the architect that made the whole thing, because holy crap, that to me would be a worthwhile endeavor. That would be a direction I'd like to see. I'd like to see him go that way. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Email me, hoho@thehohoshow.com. Let me know what you think on that one. But that's what I'd like to see. That's just me. So Ghostbusters, amazing series. I loved it. It was great. Ghostbusters Afterlife, a sequel that absolutely did it right. I like that one. I really did. That was a good movie. Amazing send-off. A tribute to Harold Ramis. Amazing show. Amazing movie. Just, there's no other way to put it. Amazing movie. So guys, that is all I got for you today. That's it. Short episode, not too bad. The next one, I think we're going to be doing an actor spotlight on Bill Murray. Maybe even both Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, because they did several movies together. Stripes, good movie. But definitely the next one is going to be an actor spotlight. Bill Murray. Look for that one next week. You all have yourself a great one, and I will see you. Or have a good one.